Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka Podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a minisode of Baka, one of the episodes where we don't watch ghost stories.
Damn it.
That'll be coming up soon, I promise.
This is where they all, disconnect.
Yeah. Oh, never mind.
Bye-bye.
Normally, we are an anime podcast that watches an anime every 2 weeks and talks about it, but every other week, to remind you that we exist and not watching ghost stories, we talk about random topics that we came up with. This week's topic was come up by one of our hosts, and it has to do with our last episode, which is about Kuroko's basketball. And now we're going to talk about sports anime in general and what we feel would work and what we feel doesn't work. So let me introduce my co-host. My name is Troy. And first off, we have the Michael to my Jordan, Jeremy.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Been goofing off a little bit in RimWorld. Tanya's going through... Yeah, it's so much fun. Tanya's going through finals, and so I'm getting enough programming stuff there. I don't want to work on my PHP stuff right now. But I am... Okay, maybe it's not enough programming because I'm actually modding Skyrim. I'm learning how, and it's so cool. It's so cool.
I can't wait to test out some of your mods.
Yeah.
How about you, Troy? You excited?
Yeah, what are you up to?
No.
Getting ready to play RimWorld?
I'm just wondering if he's excited for these mods.
He's excited, yeah.
I would actually be excited to play a mod by Jeremy, but he...
Oh, you're saying I never deliver, aren't you?
You dream so big.
It's true.
Look, just make a mod where your nose is twice as long and publish it, and then
you're just calling me a liar, aren't you? Nose twice as long.
Shots fired.
I see. Shots fired over this nose.
I would love to play your mod when you make it.
When I make it, I will make sure you buy and install RimWorld and learn how to install mods so you will play it.
Okay. Our other co-host.
Can't wait for this.
The mic to my Tyson, Jason.
Cover your ears.
One Punch Man?
Yeah.
Doing pretty great. To everyone's surprise, I've actually been playing some Path of Exile lately. No, the reason I bring it up is because and unless you played a Path of Exile, you won't understand how great this was. I 6-socketed a sword that I've been working on. I was like, okay, I'm going to get 5 linked. It went 6 link in 7 fusings.
Oh my gosh, that's really good.
RN Jesus was with me that day.
Uh-huh. Now you just need them to all be white.
Well, yeah, that I don't have that kind of balls. The only way to do that is to throw a corruption on it, and corruption can turn a unique item back into a crappy normal.
Oh,
at least that's one of the possibilities of corruption. So.
This is when you got to learn how to hack the game.
Okay, so guess what I've been doing?
Oxygen not included. They did come out with a new pack.
Oh my god,
that's awesome.
What are you doing, Trey?
I've been watching anime on this anime podcast. My Hero Academia season 3 started.
Yes.
And the first episode was a filler recap episode, so that was
a little fan service.
By the time we record this, I've seen the second episode, also full of male fan service, because they went to a steam bath and the purple grape guy tried to get a view of the girls, but he couldn't. We saw them for one flash of a second, but all the guys are standing around and they some thick boys.
I love the fact that the girls, the one that has the most curvaceous body is the invisible girl. That's so great.
But like, I can't be mad because how many animes are just lavish with female sites, and
Right.
this anime is like, want to see how buff all these boys have gotten, and my teenage daughters are like, this is a good anime, Dad. I'm like, I'd be a hypocrite to complain. So whatever, My Hero Academia. But it is funny how they keep setting up fan service and keep making it male fan service.
Yeah.
My Hero Academia breaking molds. The other show that's back is Food Wars, though. Food Wars also came back. So
season 27?
Yeah, so I was going to say.
It is the second half of season 3. You hypocrite. And then outside of anime, I have been rewatching The Office, which the second season is one of the best seasons on all television of all time.
Office is great. And you finished Dragon Ball Z Super
hold on.
or whatever.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Super finished a few weeks
Does anyone have a calendar here? We need to mark something. Jeremy has watched something fairly recent.
I did? What did I watch?
The Office. Jeremy seems pretty hip to sitcoms.
Oh, sitcom. I watched Bundy.
From the 90s.
Oh, heck yeah. Those are great sitcoms. They're all crap after that.
All right, so we should get to our Minisode topic. We're going to talk about, like I said, sports animes. Things we think they can do better, things we know they can't do well, what we want to see, what sports we would see. We're going to do our best to take a anime topic that we're not very familiar with and didn't have a great experience with and try to make it better. This was Jeremy's choice. I'm as surprised as you. So Jeremy, start us off.
So I just was wondering if you could pick a sport to make an anime about, what would you pick?
Curling.
I would pick Path of Exile tournament.
That's not a sport.
Not a sport.
Anything's a sport, man. Chess is a sport. Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
When you said sport, I thought, okay, I think Troy, we need to define terms here, because when you said sport, I immediately conjured something.
Oh, you thought physical.
Well,
you stereotyper.
Okay, so I will 1000% rule out esports because that is its own category. So,
okay. So StarCraft, the anime doesn't work.
Right. Well, I mean, it does, but not as a sport anime. Because there are game animes. That is a thing already. It's its own genre.
Well, it wouldn't be a game anime, though. It would be about the players playing the game, not while they're in the game. It would just be shots of them at their computers sweating because of the anxiety and pressure, and then shots of what they're typing to each other in the chat boxes.
There was an anime not too long ago about a video game club in a high school, and I thought that's what they were going to be, is like basically a sport anime about video games, and it wasn't. It was just a slice of life comedy friendship thing. I was really disappointed. But they were like the first episode, they're playing Call of Duty together, and you just see them playing Call of Duty and getting upset about the results in the game we're not really seeing.
That's funny.
It was cool. But I'd be fine with chess. I don't care. But esports, I think, definitely should be left out.
I think, in all seriousness, racquetball.
Yeah.
Racquetball is so fast paced.
I wouldn't be shocked if there is one.
That'd be interesting. It's like the one sport I got to play. So I have a fondness there.
So I think the issue comes up is, what kind of anime are we talking about and for the sport? Because I'm not sure the sport necessarily matters too much in my view. Are we going to make it a shonen? Are we going to make it slice of life? Are we going to make it superpowered? Are we going to make it fantasy?
Wait, I want to throw one more sport out because I thought of this too.
Okay.
Racing. And I have a specific anime that they should, because there are racing animes for sure.
Speed Racer?
Deja vu.
I want a remake of Speed Racer.
Ah.
I think 1000% do it. Yeah, and I love I love it. I love the Wachowski's Speed Racer. But
So
I think a remake in current anime technology with more shonen tropes. I mean, because that anime is so old, it wouldn't translate now. But yeah, I mean, that'd be awesome.
Multi-track drifting.
There was one more thought I had. There's a movie called Red Line. You should watch the trailer for it. And you tell me if you put that animation style and that kind of action to Speed Racer, it wouldn't be fun to watch.
Interesting.
Check it out.
So yeah, for me, I think it needs to be. So one, I would probably need more exposure to more sports animes if I was going to make a judgment on what would be a good format for it, because I don't know if shonen lends itself to the sport, because the sport is the conflict, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So if you had more of a fantasy style theme to it, even though it was slice of life, you could make it more about the sport and more about the engaging in the sport and less about the Japanese food lunchtime rush. Or,
I know that's for Kroko's basketball, but you better not be attacking Food Wars.
So I see what you're saying. What you're describing is, instead of going so overboard with the idea of the sport and making it so such a caricature of the sport, which is what a shonen would do,
right?
Use the slice of life and portray the sport in a more dramatic way.
Right. Make the sport matter, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't think it didn't feel that the basketball in Kuroko's basketball mattered. It was more about the characters, and it was more about their ideals, and also their superpowers, but very much less about the actual game. And I think it would be really interesting. I don't know about really interesting. I have to see it. But
I can see you walking away from it and being like, "God, so boring."
If you want to make a sport anime, make it about the sport. Make it about actually trying to accomplish the goal of that sport.
What about you, Troy?
Man, I 1000% disagree with that. This is why. Not to start. I'm not trying to start a fight with Jason. It's just.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
To me, the most important thing for a sports anime is the characters. While we've had private conversations about this, I've used one example over and over again. I'm gonna drop it now. My Hero Academia Season 2, Deku versus Todoroki. This is not a fight to the death. This is not about the combat. Actually, I just watched a Mother's Basement, a guy who analyzes anime. He did a breakdown of the fight, and he points out not much happens in this fight. Like, it's very simple combat, but it's what it means to the characters that and what's going on with the characters. And last week we called out Food Wars because of what built in between the characters, between the food battles, that made that anime so interesting. And I think that's what a sport anime needs. I think the sport should be secondary to hugely important characters that make you connect to them.
So let me ask you this. That fight you just talked about against Deku and
Todoroki.
What if that was episode 2 or episode 3 of the first season? You have no idea what the characters are like or who they are.
Yeah, no, you got to build up to that.
Right, but doesn't that fit my point that it's the characters that made that important?
Right, but what I'm saying is that to have those meaningless fights, but have it more about what the characters desire, you got to care about the characters first.
Absolutely agree, but aren't you saying you want it to be about the sport and not about what the characters want?
I want it less about so many side characters or so many meaningless moments in their slice of life day-to-day activities. Food Wars, we started caring about the characters not because of their random, like, digging in the garden in between episodes. That's not why we cared about it in between episodes. We cared about them in between the episodes because they came across real problems that they had to solve that were relatable. For instance, when the chicken wing place was taking all the business from our main character's hometown, that's relatable. That's something that I can get behind. There's a bullies bullying some other street ball people. Okay, great. Like that's just a bad example. But what I'm saying is, like, if we want the anime to be a sport anime, let's make it about the characters, so we care about the characters when they're playing the game. Well, let's see a game. Let's actually see what they're doing.
To be fair, whether your ideals or my ideals, Kuroko's basketball did them both poor. I think we agree on that. But Jeremy, what's your thought on this?
I actually find myself kind of in the middle here because I think that
that's gross.
I think that terrible. I think that the shonen format actually lends itself very well to to sports, but I think it requires the development of characters that usually takes place in slice of life. So I think you guys are both right, and I think you're both talking about the same thing, which is the idea that, don't do things in the first season that we don't care about. Use your first season to build up the characters. If you're going to have something crazy going on, make sure that it's climactic. If you're going to have a sports tournament, make sure something's at stake. Make sure that, they're going to get kicked out of the school, or they're going to get kicked off the basketball club or something, Yeah.
So to that, I meant to mention last week, one of the things I thought we could fix Kuroko's is, what if Kuroko, the reason he was in the basketball thing is because they needed to win tournament money because his little brother was being held by thugs. or
it goes so noir.
Even better, there's a gambling ring that's been betting on his team to win over
and they don't play basketball, they have spinner competitions.
Oh god. But in this way, I think that you would be able to have something climactic, something important, something to validate the reason why these characters engaging in this sport matters to me as an observer. And then you could also tie in the lulls between that, the sort of slice of life attitude between, where you get to know the characters and you see them develop relationships and you see what they come up against in daily life. I think that, honestly, I still really want to see a racquetball one, but Mark mentioned boxing, and I think boxing is actually a really good idea because there is a lot at stake. I mean, think of Rocky.
Yeah, it's really in the middle of a fighting anime and a sport.
It is. Yeah, it's a really good bridge. So, yeah, but I mean, I think it has to be done right. You have to care about the characters, and it does require a bit of both of those seasonings.
I think maybe that's what the key here is to any good anime. And I spout about this almost every week. Character. If I don't care about your character, then your story is going to be hard pressed to keep me interested.
Right.
And I think it's because there's no world building in sports, right? Sports are about the sport; they're not about the world. So if there is, it takes second seat to the sport, and right. So that certainly can't get me.
Because the world is our world, and so it's everything's assumed. You know this world, you live in it.
Yeah, I also think that there's room for crazy versions of sports like Kaijo. It's a great idea. If you're gonna do a sport, like, make something that's so absolutely ridiculous about it. Like I mentioned before, take Kuroko's basketball and make it actually have Dragon Ball Z art, and like the impact leaves craters, and
like NBA Jam.
Yeah, do crazy stuff. Exactly.
I didn't mention this, but a lot of times in my notes, if someone scored 3 times in a row, I would write, "They're on fire."
And I think that would redeem a lot of the shortcomings that we had issue with in Kuroko's. Is like, if you're going to caricature it all the way.
Yeah, I agree. Go over the top. As much as we joke about Kaijo, it wasn't the female in this, the shapes that I was there for. It was how ridiculous this sport was, and it got more and more ridiculous what they were doing in it. Fighting on top of a house in the middle of a pool in the finals. Like, why? and
or just
using,
how much devastation they could do with their butt, and just the explosion of water that would happen.
Wasn't there like a move where she just twist, and then it drills?
The drill moves were
It's just crazy,
insane.
It's over the top, and I love that idea.
Right, and actually, like I had said, the reason I picked Kuroko's basketball is because this is an anime with people with powers. And I'm like, yeah, let's have basketball superpowers. I am down for that. And they were straddling that line of this could be, this has a real world equal. It's not super powered, but it's also beyond normal human standards. So it didn't quite hit what I wanted it to do. I agree with Jeremy on that.
Yeah. But I think that's, what do you think would make a horrible sports game or a sports anime?
Golf.
100%. Also baseball.
Really? You don't think baseball would make a good one, huh?
I think baseball would be so boring.
They'd have a lot of time for slice of life.
I'm 1,000% sure there's a baseball anime. There's got to be.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I'm sure it's awful.
Oh yeah.
There's a bicycle anime.
That would be worse.
Than baseball? I don't agree.
Hold on. I thought we were talking about sports anime.
Oh, biking is not a sport.
Bike racing is not a sport.
Anything's a sport now, man. Language is being redefined as we speak.
Tour de France is one of the most grueling competitions you have to cheat at to win.
Okay, no. Hold on. Tour de France is a great game. It is not a sport.
Well, I think there is.
You're throwing shade at a thing I don't care enough about, but I'm only curious of why you're throwing shade at it.
Because I hate cyclists.
Okay, that's fair.
That makes sense.
I live in Seattle, and I have to give up so much roadway to empty cycle lanes that have nobody in them.
I lived in Portland. I feel it. I remember it.
Complains about this the same thing. You know what's funny is I bike, and I don't go on highways or anything. I'm on local suburb streets. But that's like one of my favorite ways to exercise is get on a bike.
So you're that guy from Portlandia that has the big hoop earrings that Fred plays.
Not the guy from Portlandia.
Bike everywhere.
I do not bike everywhere. I don't bike.
Do you bike through people's houses, ringing your bell? Get out of the way! Get out of the way!
Bell. It's not even a street bike. It's a mountain bike. You're the worst.
All right, so pure definition, yes, cycling is a sport. I just throw shade at everything.
Like I said, I don't watch the Tour de France. I'm not a fan of the Tour de France. I'm not here to defend it either. I was just like, why? That's so specific.
Okay, hold on. I've got to get this off my chest real quick. It'll only take a minute. Baseball, basketball, football, those are sports that take real talent, and not everyone on the planet can do, because there's a particular level of talent that you have to have that, frankly, in very rare cases, can be developed just by practice. What could you not do with cycling?
I think it's endurance, and
who could not be a great cyclist?
I mean, it depends. There's a lot of people that aren't willing to put that much.
No, I'm not talking about will. I'm talking about just pure happenstance, like can. Like, if someone has the will, like, there are plenty of people out there that they have the will and the tenaciousness to be as good as LeBron. They will never be as good as LeBron, because LeBron has some natural talent that not everyone else.
Yeah, but there's people that cycle that are probably have more endurance than most people would be able to get, no matter what their will is.
You know what's crazy is you go from one sport to another, and you're like, oh, I do this sport all the time. I have super stamina at this sport. It does not translate. Like, I'll run and do running to build up my stamina, and then I'll go play basketball, and it's like I didn't run, but it's completely different.
Yeah.
The basketball is about jumping and stopping and going.
Yeah, totally. I get that.
So I could see how, like, if LeBron got on a bike, he would be like, oh my God, what is happening? Because the muscles are just so different. Mm-hmm. Again, this is something I don't care enough about to defend, but there is a technical skill of controlling the bike, drafting. You see how close the cyclists get together?
I can push the pedals faster than you.
I think it's more of a combination of strength and endurance, and I think that they probably reach levels that most people wouldn't be able to do with just will and training.
The fact that it's so drug infested just shows you they have to go, beyond human limit just to be competitive.
I had no
Is
idea
it?
that was a thing.
I didn't know.
You guys know Lance Armstrong got stripped of all his titles for cheating.
Oh, I did
dude.
hear about that.
And then
That's right.
and then he's like, yeah, but we're all doing like it's a major problem in that sport. They have,
That's right. Huh.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, golf I think would be the worst. I can agree with, I really don't enjoy real life baseball because it's so slow and it's so technical and it's so stat driven. It just does not appeal to me. So I think as much as you guys had a problem with Kuroko's basketball based on early bias, that I would have that going into a baseball anime for sure. I think soccer would translate well because there's a lot of motion. I've never watched that American football one. I think football could be done. Maybe rugby. I think there was a rugby one that came out not too long ago, and people seem to like it.
I know swimming already has an anime, and it's probably popular, but that would have been mine. I can't see how. I love to swim. I swim all the time, and I used to swim all the time. I don't get to anymore, but it's not. Doesn't seem like it would be interesting enough as a sport to watch people do laps. Maybe the diving part would be cool, watch people do, but that's not swimming.
I think that's more
driving.
about the characters for sure, and about the personal challenge.
That's interesting.
So that would be your slice of life one, Jason. It would be about swimming. It's perfect.
I can see, yeah. And I think that would make the big difference is that if you've got too many people on a team, the people in the teams get lost. And then you just got main character, and then you've got nebulous team. But if you've got sports where it's either one-on-one or it's a bunch of people in a pool, but we're focused in on character per character, I could see that being interesting because it would be more about the characters and less about the sport, and that their confrontation is the swimming.
So I've name dropped this so many times, it's almost ridiculous at this point, but Haiku is considered, I think right now, the best sports anime that's been made yet.
Is it the volleyball one?
That's the volleyball one. And there's two main characters. There's a really short guy who wants to be a spiker, and he teaches himself to jump really high, but everyone's like, yeah, it still doesn't matter because you're so short. And then a guy who's really good at setting the ball up and serving it, but he plays very selfishly. And
I thought it was all girls.
You've said that like 2 times now.
No, that was Jason. I heard you guys talk about it, and I thought that was true.
I asked, and I don't think he ever.
Yeah. Haiku is men's volleyball, but from what I understand, like they do a good job of making all the characters on the team matter. The challenges they go through in the game matter, but then there's no powers or anything. That seems to be the one that people get excited for the most. So I guess volleyball must work based on other people who know better than me is what I'm assuming to this point.
Well, volleyball has a lot of movement in it, and it's also pretty darn quick.
Yeah.
So I could see it. And there's a lot of tactical planning that takes place in a very short period. So I could see that working.
Okay. Any other thoughts on sports animes?
I'm still not a fan.
Yeah. I think
since last week.
I think we kind of nailed the problem with them is that there's very little world building because they're based on reality, and because that's the crutch is the sport instead of developing something a little more interesting besides the characters. I could see how they would tend to fall flat.
Yeah, the one thing that I feel like we're missing is someone who really does love sports anime to explain why. It's something I really wish we had.
I can agree with that.
Hopefully someone from the audience hears this, listens to it.
Tell us why we're wrong.
Thinks we're idiots and is like, let me set you straight.
Yep.
I would actually really love that because
you love it anytime people would set us straight.
Well, no, because I agreed with you. Like I went into that basketball and I hoping I'd be like, oh yeah, sports anime, I get it now. And I came out of it like, well, I'd rather watch Food Wars and My Hero Academia. I don't see this holding my interest.
Yeah.
And I wanted to understand it, and I don't feel like I did when I came out the other side of 13 episodes of.
Yeah, it's also rough because we did, cut it in the midpoint, and there's always an element of unfairness to that.
Yeah. So hopefully, if you have comments on sports anime, the last episode, this one, we would love to hear them. You can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast. You can send us an email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast, either YouTube, iTunes, or wherever it ended up, and we will get back to you. We love hearing your guys' comments. It always makes our day. So thank you very much, and I think we're going to wrap it there. Let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Sayonara.